Hi, welcome to Professor Kev Show. As you can see, I got my friend Professor Cody Lu with us today. Good afternoon, Cody. Welcome to the show.
What's good, Professor Kev? Thanks for having me. Always nice
Appreciate you
to
coming
catch up
on.
with you and chit chat.
So, before we jump in for today's topic, just introduce yourself to the audience. I know obviously you teach at UMass Lowell, but what classes do you teach, Professor Lu?
Yeah, I'm Cody, and I teach financial accounting and tax at UMass.
Oh, God bless your tax. I remember that class. It's tough, man, because it always changes, so you
Yeah,
never
it's
really
annoying.
know
It
and
can be a
stuff.
pain, yes, to teach. Yeah.
So, Cody, we're coming into finals week, and I feel bad because my students often get overwhelmed. As a professor, what advice do you have for students to help them stay focused?
Well, I think, you gotta start early. Like, I know we were talking earlier about this too, right? Like, it's kind of finals exams week for most campuses. It's like very ill-timed because right after the Thanksgiving.
Yep.
And like, right now, I'm not at school either. I'm not in Massachusetts right now either. I'm enjoying kind of Thanksgiving, but I can imagine as students, like when they have exams to study for in literally like 2 weeks, right? Right after they had probably done nothing
Yep.
in that week of Thanksgiving, it can be tough. So I would say, gotta to start early and gotta lock in.
It's interesting. We have the same viewpoint on this because sometimes I feel bad, Professor Lou, because we just had class today, and I'm like, you have to think about what you're doing for Thanksgiving. Now, I remember being a student and being like, oh, I'm going to get caught up on Thanksgiving break. I didn't do anything. And then, you don't do anything for a week and you come back to exams and then into finals week. So being prepared makes sense and coming back and starting up right away and not taking a couple days after Thanksgiving to get back on track, right?
It's like going to the gym, basically, right? You could be working out like maybe 3, 4 times a week, but then like if you just take a week off and then you go back, you're a little bit sore and rusty, right? Like that first few times. And that's kind of like the same thing with your brain and learning and taking classes and preparing for exams. You have to like always keep your mind sharp.
But now, should people, before we leave for Thanksgiving break, go through the syllabus, make sure they understand what's due when they come back? Sometimes it feels like that end of the semester project sneaks up on you because it's like, all right, we're going to go over that at the end of the semester. And on week one, you're like, come on, it's 15 weeks away, whatever, it doesn't matter. But all of a sudden, whoops, it sneaks up on you that maybe that long paper or hard exam you have. So take a look before you go.
I mean, that's a tough question because I'll be honest with you, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. How many students read the syllabus even one time nowadays? I don't know. At least I don't know about your students, but I don't know. I question how many of my students even read the syllabus one time, let alone go back to it in Thanksgiving. But yeah, definitely like there is a like most classes they have some sort of project, right? And
Yep.
both classes I teach is projects, and I'm telling them throughout the semester, you better get on this. You're gonna cry in final exam week if you're not on this.
Yeah.
So, uh, yeah, whether or not they ultimately decide to do it, or get it started on it during Thanksgiving or even earlier, that's up to them.
But I also think Thanksgiving is important, that last maybe mental break before things get real. So go home and enjoy it a little too.
Oh yeah, for sure. You gotta enjoy. You gotta enjoy it. You take Thanksgiving off, take Black Friday off. You need to. But like for me to like try to get something that's productive done maybe on that Monday or that Tuesday, before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It's balance. You gotta balance out your life.
So before we let you run, next semester, you're teaching both of those classes for the January semester?
No, I'm only teaching tax.
Only tax in January. So
Sure.
um, definitely look up Professor Lou, sign up for his class if you're a UMass Lowell student. All right, Professor Lou, I
But
appreciate
let
you.
me say one more thing. Let me
Oh,
say one more thing
I know. Go ahead.
about this final exam thing. One thing that y'all students should not be doing is I hate when people, and I know people who do this, they calculate how much they need to get a certain grade.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, oh, I need. Has that happened to you?
I call it student math, Professor Lou. That's what I call it.
Oh Lord, man, and they're like, oh, I need to get 80 to get a C in the class, or I need to
Yeah,
get I only need to get a 70 to get an A in the class.
right. Yeah.
It's one of the dumbest things a student can do. All right,
It's true.
please don't do that. Because first of all, you should always shoot for the moon and hopefully land on a star.
Yep.
If you just shoot for stars, you might land back down on Earth, right? If you just shoot for that 70, you might
Yep.
not get to 70. But if you shoot for perfect, you might get still
Yep.
end up with a 70. But number two, and this is more psychological, and you guys don't even know you're doing this when every time you do this.
Yeah. But to
When
your point, Professor Lou, you have an A in the class. You should want to keep that A. Not like, well, I just need to get some ridiculously low score because that's going to obviously impact how you study too. Like, why do you want to work hard the whole semester and then get some ridiculously low score and see A turn into a C? That just doesn't feel right to me.
well, even if they're saying like I just need to get an 80, right, to get an A,
Yeah.
right, to still maintain the same grade. The problem is psychologically you're putting more pressure on yourself because psychologically what you're doing is you're setting a target for yourself. And when you have a target, you have pressure. In addition to what you're saying is like, yeah, if you shoot for an 80, you might not even get that.
Right.
Whereas if you just try your best, like regardless, then that's
Yeah.
actually less pressure on yourself. So listen, don't do this.
Yeah. No, but to your point, all kidding aside, when you say that I just need an 80, now you're taking the exam and maybe there's a 10-point question you're not sure about. Like, all right, so now I have a 90, and all of a sudden it starts messing with your head. I can only get one other question wrong and still get an 80. So I see exactly what you're saying.
Exactly.
You're
And
preparing to try to get 100 and you land at the 80, you still have the A, but like, oh man, I just got a 75 instead. And now you lost an A to A minus. So that definitely makes sense and stuff.
and
So
the biggest thing here that is just it drives me crazy is like the amount of work you have to do to get an 80 is not that much different from the work that you have to do to get a 100. It really isn't.
that's true though. Yeah,
It's hard to translate, right? You don't just say, oh, because I go for 80, I get to spend 5 hours less studying.
no, I agree.
Yes.
It feels the same to me. It's not like, well, I can skip this section. I don't need to study this because if it's on, no, I agree. It seems like that's probably a mistake. So, all
Yep.
right, Professor Lou, appreciate you taking a few minutes. Happy
Yes,
Thanksgiving,
sir.
friend.
As always, take care.